All right, everyone, if I could have your attention, today is Monday, June the 1st. It's 7:01. This is the Spring Hope Board of Commissioners meeting. The first item I have on my agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will ask everyone that can, please stand, face the flag, raise your hat, remove your hat, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item I have on my agenda this evening is the minutes from the board meeting on May the 4th. Y'all had a chance to look over them. Does anybody have any changes that need to be made, or would like to make a motion to accept the minutes as written?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as written. If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Minutes are approved as written. The next item I have on my agenda is Mr. Clint Hedgepath regarding Meek Cemetery.
Good evening, everyone. A lot of you may not know who I am. I am a native of Spring Hope. I've been gone for quite a while, but I actually work in the cemetery all the time. We handle all the burials. Give you a little history on myself here. I'm pushing upon 30 years in business. Responsible for handling about 2,600 burials a year throughout eastern North Carolina. And I have a lot of opinions and ideas regarding our cemetery over here. I came tonight to represent, I guess, myself, my business, and basically on behalf of the town as well, because I am hired as a contractor for the town. My voice speaks for the town as well. We've had issues in the past with the cemetery. Mainly, I think maintenance is the biggest problem. We get the graves dug. We handle meeting the families, getting the graves open and closed. I think the issues that we've run into in the past has been maintaining the cemetery. The cemetery itself has, for the lack of a look appeal, it doesn't have the look that it should. Like anything, it requires maintenance, and it requires a maintenance schedule. And I think that's been the problem that we've had is we don't have an allocated schedule, it seems. It just seems to, when I go out to mark a grave off, for instance, or meet a family, sometimes the grass is sort of high, as much as knee high in the cemetery. So I've talked to Michelle. Michelle will reach out to whomever. The grass will get cut mainly in that section or in that area. But in today's time, to maintain the cemetery, you need to have a set schedule of cuts per year. You need to have an outline of what you're supposed to be doing as far as trimming out around the graves or cleaning ditches or whatever the responsibilities and duties are. I think is where we're coming short at. And I just came today to offer a little bit of maybe advice and as well as some help from my behalf. I feel like I take a level of responsibility for the cemetery because, first of all, we dig the graves there. So if we have sunk down graves and issues that come up, then I'll definitely hands-on, I'll get myself involved immediately to eradicate the problem, get rid of the issues that we have. Now, a lot of issues come up, never even get seen because my guys catch it. If we're out there working and we see it, we'll fix it. If we don't see it, Michelle will be in touch with us. We'll get right on it in pretty quick turnaround time. We realize the importance of it, and as well as any other cemetery that we have. I talked with Commissioner Wilkins about some issues. I think I settled a lot of your concerns. I know you may have had some other questions for me regarding the cemetery. I've submitted some information to Michelle as far as the driveways being established, particularly in Meek Cemetery, because we opened up a new section of that cemetery years ago. When I say a new section, we're still talking 20 years. But the driveways were never established. So you don't have any actual driveways, and we're doing probably 90% of our burials are in that new section of the cemetery. So without any established driveway, I think you guys have probably been out there and seen them. They need to be established, and we do have a map that I presented tonight that I've made and put together that shows where the driveway should be based on what was originally drawn and drafted. She has that copy now, and I gave her also some prices on actually establishing that driveway. We need that for the simple reason that when you bring family cars into the cemetery, you want to be able to know where you're driving, first of all, not driving on individual grave spaces. It needs to be an established way in and out of the cemetery, whether it's wet, whether it's dry, whether the grass is high, you still need to establish in and out of a cemetery, and that's not there at this time. So that's something I feel is important for you guys to establish as a town, and I'll be glad to help in any way I can. Some stuff, of course, you have to get paid for. Other stuff I can volunteer my time. I also want to suggest that to Ms. Wilkins here as well, is that we talked about this, is establishing a committee for the cemetery itself. I don't mind heading up the committee, but we need to have a committee that addresses the issues of the individual cemeteries. I think Oakdale has a committee, and they work with the town. They inform the town of the different issues that they have, and basically it's squeaky wheel gets the oil. So when you hear about problems, they get addressed quicker than waiting to find something in another cemetery. So with that being said, I don't know if any of you guys have any questions for me regarding the cemetery or what we can do to better things at the cemetery, but that was my main motive for coming tonight, to show you what I'm able to do, what we're capable of doing, and what we're willing to do. Everything doesn't require money. I feel like these committees would be more in line with keeping up with graves, driveways, and issues as they arrive, to be able to mainly like take flowers off graves. I think the committee should interact with each other as well, to get itself on a uniform look, so that the town has a uniform look with the way they're approaching the individual cemeteries. I think everybody's done a really good job overall, with the exception of the maintenance part not being consistent. Inconsistency with the maintenance, meaning cutting the grass and trimming, is what creates most of the complaints. Almost every time we go to the cemetery, we have that level of complaint about the grass being cut more than anything. So as a town, I feel like that issue should be addressed immediately, to try to find a level of accountability and establish a schedule that can be submitted, that can be managed by the town some way, shape, form, or fashion.
I just want to add, Clint was just bringing up the driveway, and just to kind of add to what Clint had brought up, I did have the unfortunate circumstance of having to bury a family member at Meeks in February, and one of the cars, because it rained that day, one of the cars actually got stuck in the driveway, which was kind of horrible. But I mean, they spent a little bit, but they were able to get out after a little bit. But it was just something that was very unfortunate for my family, that someone ended up getting stuck right in the driveway.
To further address what she's saying, we do have some watershed issues, and that watershed issue was primarily from the original piping that was put in to establish the driveways into the new section from the existing cemetery. Basically, it's clogged up over the years. I've talked to Michelle about that as well. That's an issue that can easily be fixed with just basically cleaning the storm drains out, also where they're actually dumping it. And I would say on maybe the north side of the cemetery, it's starting to build up against the woods from debris, trash, and things starting to build up there, and it's trapping the water in the cemetery, and it's backfilling over a lot of the graves in the front section of the cemetery, which makes it very unappealing to try to sail foremost. And every time you come out there, it's standing 2 inches of water when it rains. And then after the rain settles, the stones that are out there are covered in mud. So that's an issue that is not going to go away until you actually clean the drain ditches out It's a simple fix, and I feel like the drain pipes are there are probably sufficient to carry the water, but over time, they've just silted in, leveled itself out where it just can't disperse the water fast enough. And, you know, even in really bad situations, regardless of what you got there, it's not gonna stop the watershed, but it should be able to move faster than that and not trap it in the cemetery, especially where you're first going into the new section 8. That particular area is, we did a little work on it. I think I did some work last year, Michelle. I cut out the biggest of it. It made a big difference. However, it still needs those upper drains cleaned out so the water doesn't flood. It's basically going around the pipe, jumps into the driveway, pushes the rock out of the driveway, floods over into the cemetery. Then it's just got to settle on its own to dry out. That's going to require some backhoe work, which I can definitely handle and do. I basically need to get some level of approval, okay, to do this work. You know, because some stuff, like I said, will require some fees, and it's involved that she's aware of and I've talked to her about. And not just me, I mean, we put it open for whomever, but I definitely understand what needs to be done and don't mind being a part of it the best I can.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Hedgebath?
I would like to say, I know there's an issue that was discovered last week with a grave that had some issues in motion. And I just want to say thank you to you and your brother, your company. The guys were out there the next day, or immediately, and got that taken care of. I don't understand how people are out there working and don't notice it and tell somebody before that. But I do appreciate how quick you took care of that guy. So I appreciate it.
Thank you for that. In response to that as well, that was another issue Michelle and I discussed last year. We went through the cemetery. We found a lot of what they call surface burials. They're outlawed now. But, you know, over, I think it was in 1999 or 87 range. In that range, they outlawed those surface burials. But in that time frame, they used to could bury a vault level with the ground. In other words, the top of the vault was exposed to the elements, which is what you see in that cemetery. Now 30 years later, 50 years later, it's deteriorated. The vault starts to crack and fall in, and now the casket is actually exposed. So it's basically it's the crypt that's being exposed. And the only way to fix those is just basically bust it in, fill it in with dirt, pump the water out, and fill it back in with dirt. You don't have any more issues with it. But that's an inherent problem in every cemetery because of the way they used to do burials. It's going to happen. The thing is having, like I said, the maintenance people and the contractors like myself to stay on top of it to catch it as it happens. Most of the time, the family members are usually long gone. Somebody to reach out to give them permission because technically, the way you're supposed to handle it is actually dig it up, put it in the ground 18 inches below the ground. But if you don't handle it at all, just take the top off, fill it in with dirt. That's basically the maintenance that kind of is grandfathered in and overrides whatever the state laws is regarding a burial like that. By us not being the one opening it and not finding responsible people, the only thing we can do basically is just backfill it and hope that they say have proper records to find it again.
Anyone else?
Yeah, what about the flag that's out there? Who's responsible for the flag that's out there? Because there's no flag out there right now. And if Clint could handle it, y'all can hold him up, pay him whatever to handle the flag, because there's not a flag out there to represent, you know, anything.
There's no American flag out there?
No, there's no flag out there.
Right, when you had that funeral, we put a flag out the next day.
Because I came out there, there's not a flag out there.
Okay, I'll get one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jay, did you have any questions?
No.
I know we discussed some things, and I think we were pretty settled on where we were with understanding what we need to do.
Right.
Okay, is that it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hang around, I think this is gonna come up again in a little bit.
Sir.
Next item I have on my agenda is consider action to renew legal services with Fields and Cooper.
So the terms of the services for the legal services for the next year is the same as the prior year. No changes.
What do you need a motion, Jay?
Yes, sir.
Motion.
Make a motion that we approve contract for legal services for Fields and Cooper.
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve a new contract for legal services with Fields and Cooper. There's no more discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes. Before I move on to this next one, GFL, have they been given an approximate time?
I just sent I had been in contact with email, just letting him know that our meeting would be starting at 7 PM and that I would be calling him by phone when this item on the agenda would be coming up. He's been given a copy of the agenda as well.
Next item on our agenda is to consider action for request from GFL regarding recycle fee increase and CPI index. They have a company policy right now due to COVID-19. They won't attend any meetings and they will talk to us over speakerphone.
Hi Pat, this is Jay calling from the town, and you're on speakerphone with the board. We got your item on the agenda at this time.
Okay, great. I don't have you guys streaming on Facebook, but I do have your smiling faces up on your website. So hopefully everybody is still smiling. So I just wanted to go over our request for recycling and the CPI. And as everybody there is aware, this is strictly a request. The contract requires us to request it. You don't have to approve or disapprove it. Totally up to you guys. So it's very similar to what we discussed last year. I'll start with the recycling part first. Last year, the processing went from $0 to $50 a ton as far as what we were being charged. And that rose to about $75 a ton in the summer. And we absorbed that one with our municipal customers when it went up. But now it has gone up to $105 a ton, which is starting July 1st. So again, based on the 12-month average of tons, we would be requesting a 36-cent increase per carton on that. And then moving to the CPI, I know Jay put together a couple of bullet points that I had sent out to you. And a lot of people have heard the term CPI, but some people aren't exactly sure what it is. First of all, it stands for Consumer Price Index. And basically what it deals with is it reports inflation, or rising prices and deflation or falling prices. So, and just about all of our municipal agreements, we have CPI language in it. The category we use for our CPI request is garbage and trash collection. The percentage for this year over year was 3.6%. We've requested a 3% increase. And then I just put down some of the reasons for why our cost of doing business goes up. We've got personnel
Questions?
So within the budget that I have been working on, with their request of the 3% and also with the recycling fees, the proposed budget that I have been working on does include those cost increases. I think one of the questions that had come up in the past was, would this increase the cost passed down to the residents, and it would not. At this time, the town would absorb the costs for the increases, and basically when you break down the numbers, it would come out to 77 cents per account increase. And again, that can be something that can be absorbed by the town's costs.
77 cents per month per account.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I had a tough time hearing that.
Jay ran the numbers, and what he let us know is that it works out to be a 77 cents per account per month increase in our cost.
Yes.
And
Okay.
he believes that we can absorb that cost without passing any increase along to the residents and businesses in town.
Okay. Well, anything that you guys would consider, we'd appreciate. I know it's something you guys need to discuss, and you just let me know.
Anybody else have any questions?
I'm okay with it. I think I was the one who asked that question last time. As long as the residents don't absorb the cost, I'm okay with it.
And if there's no more questions or discussion, I'd like to consider action on this request from GFL. I would need a motion or alternate number to agree to.
I make a motion, we approve the requested 3% CPI for waste.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to agree to the recycling fee increase in CPI index. I'll assume you heard that, and I will let you tell the board thank you, and I'll have Jay let you go from the phone.
Okay. Yes. Board, I do appreciate your time, and we do enjoy servicing the community. And if you ever have any questions, you can hit me up directly, or you can go through Jay, and he can reach out to us. But thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. You guys have a good evening. Thanks.
Okay, all right.
Bye.
The next item on the agenda is consider action to amend prior approval of the Town of Spring Hope sidewalk project. I'll turn that back over to Jay.
So I have Kevin from Stockton Engineering here with us this evening. On March 2nd, when we brought before the board a resolution for the original budget, it was $23,689.25 with a bid price of $9.25 per square foot. After we started walking through the community and reviewing the assessment of the sidewalk and actual measurements, it actually doubled from the estimation we had from the map. It went up to 4,618 square feet and increased the potential budget of the project to $45,000. And again, I'm bringing this back to the board for consideration. Again, since basically the cost of the project did double, we do have the funds within the POW bill to cover the cost of this project this fiscal year. If you have any specific questions.
Jay, if we use those power bill funds, refresh my memory, what are they? What can we use them for? Sidewalks?
They are for sidewalks, they're also for streets. Kevin?
Essentially, water, you cannot use it for water and sewer, but everything else inside the right of way, we can use it for. So curb and gutter, asphalt, drainage, sidewalk, all those items.
So this double price, if we approve that, would there be some other need that would go undone, that Kevin, or would we be able to do this and not shortchange some other issues that Power Bill funds could take care of?
Well, I guess the short answer is yes, there are certainly other things in town, being street repair or street upgrades and things like that, that obviously will be pushed back, just because of the funding that we have. In an ideal world, the town would have $10 million to repay the street in town. That's just not where we are. So we have to try to budget as best we can. We've done an extremely good job over the last probably 7 to 8 years of really concentrating on our streets and trying to bring a lot of those up to standard. We really have several that are still lacking that need work, but we have neglected doing anything with sidewalks over the past 7 to 8 years as well. So it's probably time to spend a year and concentrate on some sidewalks, especially the ones that are around our downtown businesses, the ones that have strip hazards and things like that. And then obviously next year we can get back on task of doing our street repairs like we have been.
Well, I agree, the sidewalks are in rough shape. So then you're kind of, what you're saying is, you think that is kind of a first priority of needs that Power Bill funds could take care of at this point?
Yeah, at this point, we have several areas of sidewalk that are completely missing. We have homes stretched out in front of homes. I mean, those things we need to address. So initially what I guess we had the company Environment went out and identified all of the areas in town that were missing sidewalks, areas that had big trip hazards and things like that. What we did was kind of walk up and down those same areas and identified like all of the issues that we had. There's still some sidewalks out there that are going to be cracked. We're not fixing cracked sidewalk, but we are fixing separated sidewalk, things that cause major issues. And that's when, as we walked it, I mean, our view of it kind of doubled the quantity just because we're not going to tear out a 5-foot section, leave a 5-foot section, and then go get the next 5-foot section. We're going to replace that whole section of sidewalk. So that's kind of why the numbers are a little bit different than what we originally started out with. But we feel like it's a worthwhile project and something we need to think about this year.
Direct question to the manager and the clerk. How much do we have in Power Bill funds right now?
150.
150? Because I know there's several spots around town on streets that need some hot patches that we can't do with cold patch, and we'd still be able to do some of that.
We are considering some of the hot patch work with some of the potholes, again, with the contractor that we're working with on the sidewalk project as well.
My concern is that we're considering, that we're considering as well.
So we are going to do some of them. There was a list of maybe 13 areas. Not all of them can be repaired by hot patch. The ones that can be, we will do that, and then we will have to assess those next streets for the next street projects, whatever we decide to do or the board decides to choose from the list.
So from a prioritization standpoint, which streets are we looking at doing this particular time? Because there are some streets that really need to be prioritized.
So, for example, I think one of the streets that came up was East Branch Street.
Yeah.
That, and then also part of Ash Street was one of them where, again, some of the sections or holes can be temporarily repaired by hot patch. Again, it's not a permanent fix or solution. It's, again, we have to assess which streets we're going to be tackling in the next coming years.
Okay, so will those be done, especially that East Branch one was the one that I had the biggest concern with. Will that be done prior to the sidewalks?
It's something that we're planning to do in conjunction with it. Again, saving costs with the contractor being in town while they're working on the sidewalks.
So the ones I have listed out, we have, I guess, a lot of small ones in town. When I say small, I'm about less than 50 square feet. But the larger ones we had were Ash and Pine, School and Pine Street, McLean Street. We have one on May Street, Thornberry, Main, Wilders, and then at Branch Street. The issue with Branch is there's a whole section of street that really needs to be pulled out and replaced. We chased that for a while, and it's one of those things that's on the list that needs to get done, but it's going to cost a lot of money to do that section. So what we kind of proposed was, right now, the areas that are missing asphalt, we're going to replace that, but it's really a Band-Aid on something that we really need to go into a lot of repair to. So there's not really a good way to go in and fix a section of it and it lasts for 5, 10 years. What we need to do is put a Band-Aid on it, get it where it's passable, and then come back and completely fix it 2 or 3 years from now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and Pine Street is the state, right? The one down the street, one where we had the water main break, that's the state, fix that, right?
No, that is something that we're going to have to fix.
It's because it's our water main, it happens to be a state maintained road, but we're the ones that cut the street and fix our water main, so we're required to pass it back.
Okay, and that's on the list too?
It is on the list.
Okay. Somebody got a question, somebody had a hand back there.
Yes, sir.
What is the, or what's the turnaround time for those, because like water main, is there a certain limit, time limit, turnaround for repairing it?
Well, I believe the DOT would like for it to be done within a, I believe, 48-hour period, but obviously we had to reach out to contractors. And again, we felt like we could get the best price possible when we were working with the sidewalk project. So that's why it did take a little bit longer, or has taken longer than usual, but we did notify DOT that what we were doing in the process.
I was curious, because I know sometimes if those repairs aren't fixed within a certain time, then we got guys like Ocean coming in, fine stuff coming in, that kind of thing. So
Well, DOT hasn't mentioned anything that to us, but they did state that, and we give them an update on what we're planning to do.
Anyone else? Do I have a motion on the sidewalk project?
I'd make a motion that we proceed with the sidewalk project as presented. I think Kevin's right. It's a pretty big priority. It's a real problematic sidewalk. That still leaves us some money for the streets. And I would say we would go on his recommendation of which sidewalks to do the repairs and which ones to leave off and do the worst first.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the Town of Spring Hope sidewalk project. If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. That motion passes. Next item I have is consider action to approve the renewed joint cooperative program, Down East Home Consortium.
Again, this is a revised agreement. We have participated with the DEHC. Again, these funds are available from HUD to carry out multi-year housing strategies through the assistance of first-time home buyers and existing homeowners, property acquisition, rehabilitation, again, for your consideration.
Do we pay, do we pay anything to DEHC? Town of Spring Hope? Do we pay?
No, we do
We're
not.
not, we just members of it, right?
We are members. We are current members.
You know, this is just a little piece of advice. Because the other day, doing paperwork at work, the issue came with home units. And we could not get them recertified, move anybody in because both of them, all of them had Nashville and Spring Hope had home units. And I just for a piece of advice, we have 6 home units at Okie. Quite interesting. Which means somebody else is funding those apartments and houses other than RD. Because I had never heard of it until then.
Oh, the DH. I'll let you go ahead and get back to you.
Is there any cost to the town for this?
He said no.
No?
He said no.
So what is, because when I was reading over this, and I'm a research person, so I like to research these. So how, being a member of this program, basically reading what in your memorandum, I guess I'm just trying to understand, how do we utilize this program here in Spring Hope to help our current residents?
I think that during different parts of the program, and again, for the folks in Rocky Mount hitting the program, they will notify us when certain programs are available, when there's open application periods. So again, for us being a part of this, they maintain and operate the program. So again, they will let us know what the guidelines are, or we can provide them, or basically set up contact, reaching out to the representatives of the DEHC in Rocky Mount.
I guess I'm still not quite understanding, so, because it's got right here, I guess, multi-year housing strategies to assistance to first-time home buyers, existing homeowners, property acquisitions, rehabilitation, so, and so on. I guess I'm just trying to see how, is this saying that if we have someone who maybe need assistance for some repairs on their home, are we saying that's what this program could potentially help with, or?
I believe it's related to low to moderate income qualifications, but yes, being a part of this agreement, again, there could be funding available for all the members of the agreement.
And how do we make this known to our community, if there's funds available for our?
So obviously, when DHC lets us know of when certain programs are open periods, we would communicate that through the town's Facebook social media account, also on the town's website.
We also always have applications available at the, inside town hall, at the lobby, and we have had several people that have been able to take advantage of not just this program, but some other programs, and have had their home fixed. Guy right down the street from me took advantage, and they put heat and air in his house. Just about 6 months ago.
Awesome. I wasn't aware of the program, which is why I'm asking these questions.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't aware that we even had a program that Spring Hope actually participated in or anything like that. So it's good to know that we do have, that we're part of this type of program.
Anything else? Would the board like to consider action approving the renewed joint cooperative agreement with Down East Home Consortium?
I make a motion to approve the renewed joint cooperative agreement Down East Home Consortium, DHC.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the renewed joint contract with Down East Home Consortium. If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The next item on the agenda is consider action to accept funds from the Asset Inventory and Assessment AIA grant for infrastructure, water infrastructure needs.
Yes, again, part of the process, paperwork with the state is that we approved and accept the funds by resolution.
You just need a motion to go ahead and accept the funds.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the funding for the Asset Inventory and Assessment for water infrastructure needs. If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Next item is consider action to accept funds from Asset Inventory and Assessment grant for wastewater infrastructure needs. This is the other half of this
Yes,
same AIA
yes.
grant.
Make a motion, we accept that as well.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to agree for the wastewater infrastructure needs. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. That motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the consider action on the approval of the water and tax write-offs.
Again, this is the write-offs that Ms. Morris has provided on a yearly basis. If you have any questions.
See, we do this every year.
Yes.
People moved away, passed away, time limit said they timed out or over, and this is just a neat enough paperwork item. If there are no comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve the water and tax write-offs.
Make a motion to approve the write-offs.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the water and tax write-offs. If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Next item is action to advertise outstanding 2019 taxes. And you're asking to post this in the paper?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve posting these in the paper, publishing the outstanding taxes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. There's no more discussion. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Next item is action to approve discoveries and releases per Nash County and Spring Hope. And these are just new items that were just found by the tax people.
Yes.
Once again, a paperwork clearing.
Make a motion to approve these discoveries and releases.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the discoveries and releases. There's no more discussion. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is consider action regarding the Spring Hope Park closure.
Yes, well, the county has contacted the town on how we'd like to proceed. They had notified me, letting the town know that all parks covered and under the supervision of Nash County as of June 1st will be open, except for their bathroom facilities, playground equipment, and basketball courts. So the question for this board to consider is how you would like to proceed with opening or closing any parts of our park facilities.
But that's it, isn't it? The playground equipment and
The only thing that,
basketball courts and bathrooms. So what's left?
well, the question is, under the current phases of the governor's order, the only thing that has to be closed at this current time is playground equipment. So again, basically the communities can decide on exactly how they want to proceed, whether they want to just solely close just the playground equipment, or if they want to close any other parts of their park as well. So again, Nash County is deferring to the town on how it wants to proceed with our own park.
So, Jay, the ball fields though are being used, like the ball games are going on?
Well, that's the plan
That
from
is
the
open
county.
As of today, correct?
That's according to Nash County, yes.
You say they can use the ball field?
That's the plan on, yes, as of June 1st to be open.
How about the shelters?
Open as well too.
Shelters would be open, baseball would be open, tennis would be open,
The walking path.
walking path would be open. Right now, it's just the playground equipment, and we could open the bathrooms if we had somebody to clean them several times a day, and we don't want to do that.
So is the county pretty much planning on July 6th to open the remainder along with
Well, it depends on, that's the plan. It if they are gonna wait on the governor's order and the phase transition on how they would consider open. And again, that's, you can see from the attached sheet that I printed out and that I received from the county, that they are, again, for high contact phase 3, proposed date is July 6th. Until anything changes with any updates from the county, that's all I have from them.
So under normal times, Jay, who cleans those bathrooms?
The county facility staff,
They will not do that currently if they're open, correct?
they will not, they just do not have the, again, this is something that would have to be cleaned multiple times throughout the day.
So then I think we ought to go along with the governor's order, leave them closed because we just redid those bathrooms, and if they are open and not able to be cleaned or maintained during the period that the ball fields are being used, might present a problem. So I guess people just have to make the best arrangements they can if they're at ball games. That's my opinion.
I agree with that, keep it closed, because if you say, you can use the trail or you can ride the bike, somebody's gonna get on that playground, equipment. They're just not gonna do what they're supposed to do.
Well, so I did speak with the staff over at the county, so if we choose to keep the we have to keep the playground equipment closed. We would tape off the perimeter of the playground equipment and have signs placed around the footprint of the playground so that you could clearly see that the playground facility equipment would be roped off or taped off and closed. Even if we open up other parts of the park. But again, this is something for the board to discuss and consider on exactly which parts of the park you'd like to keep open or closed.
I understand you very well, but somebody is going to get on that playground equipment. That rope, that tape's not gonna be a thing to them.
Well, I understand, and we do have the police department that they would be on their patrols, driving by the playground equipment to make sure that the playground equipment is not being accessed.
And they will actually put up the either police tape or caution tape or something, because right now it's just a sign.
Right.
So,
I did ask if
Lucas, as it stands, somebody will just walk right by the sign and jump on it.
Right.
They're less likely to cross if it's totally got a police line or something like that taped around it.
And I did talk with their staff, and if we would ask that the county send their staff to actually tape off the perimeter, they said that they would after our meeting this evening.
I mean, there's just too many touch points. With what's going on, there's too many touch points for them to pass along. Same thing with the bathrooms, just touch points, you can't clean it, considering who was in there. Now, the basketball court doesn't have as many touch points. So my personal opinion is that I wouldn't have an issue with the basketball court being open because, you know, we don't supply basketballs. There's not really a touch point there. However, I will say that if this is what the county is going to do, countywide, we probably should stay with the county and just open what they say they're going to open and leave the remainder closed. That's my take on it.
My only concern with that is if we're opening up the ball field and not opening up the basketball court, then that could leave people asking questions, why is the ball field open but not the basketball court? But I do understand, you know, if it is probably better taking on caution with the county, but.
I think the reasoning being is the fact that when you play basketball, you guard each other, you're close. You do touch each other, but there again, that's your freedom of choice. It's your right to choose whether you get out there and guard somebody.
Yeah.
So that's why personally I don't have an issue with doing it because there's no. I mean, I guess technically they could touch the pole, or if somebody's dunking, they could touch the rim. I wouldn't be in trouble with catching COVID from touching the rim. Can't reach that high. Never could. Ray might get. Back in the day.
Wow.
But I mean, that's a personal thing for me. Once again, I feel like if the county is going to do this in all parks, then we should stay in line with what they are. And if there's an explanation, it would be basically compliance and staying in line with everybody else. I don't want to be the one that opens something and then get lower. I know our county's been very, very good about paying attention and complying with what's going on at our park. I know there's been a lot of problems in other parks. I think they've actually removed some basketball rims so that they could get out there and play. I haven't seen a single person out there even trying. So I think people are just cautious about what they do, and I think they continue to be the same. So, but once again, my recommendation would be to stay in line with whatever the county's doing.
My recommendation is keep it closed. Keep it closed.
All of it, or?
All of it.
I will need a motion from someone.
I make a motion, we open or close the facilities at the park based on the county's recommendation and follow what county's doing.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to follow the county's suggestion, and I will state what I believe you were saying. That would be keeping the playground equipment, the bathrooms, and the basketball court closed. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, I have a motion and a second on that. Is there any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is consider resolution 2020-03, declaration of surplus property and authorizing disposition.
Yes, for Schedule A, I believe there's 8 AT&T Netgear mobile Wi-Fi units.
Is there anything else?
That is it.
There's no Schedule B or anything?
Nope, just Schedule A.
I have a request from the manager to, for declaration of surplus property and authorizing its sale. Are there any questions for the mayor, or I'm assuming this was police department equipment?
Police Department equipment.
Chief, this is nothing where you have a need for?
It was a company that the previous chief went with, and they were not working, so we went back to the original ones, which were Verizon. So they're there and they're open, so, I mean, the demand's for them's high, and we were out of pocket, no money to cancel, so any money we got on them would be pocket money to go back into the farm.
So you haven't sold them yet, right?
I have not. We had to wait for this tonight before I could advertise them.
Okay.
They're tier 1 boxes, so the service for an individual would be fine, but for a police officer who has to have service every time and be able to rely on it, the AT&T for the Spring Hope area was just not cutting it. But Verizon was great. It was just anywhere other than Spring Hope, it would have been fine, but it was the same exact price to switch companies, so, and we were able to get out of it without paying the contract, so it was kind of a no-brainer to go with what works for the same.
That motion accepting the declaration.
Yeah, I make a motion to accept the declaration 2020-03 for surplus property and authorize that disposition.
Second.
I have a motion and a second authorizing the declaration. If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing for the year 2021 budget presentation.
Make a motion to go to public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go into public hearing. If there's no more questions, all in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Jay?
Yes. So there are, the draft was presented last month. There are no changes, and just to, at this time, recap the final proposed numbers. For general fund, it's $1,158,800. For water and sewer fund, it's $472,500 for a total operating budget of $1,631,300. Again, what is the tax rate is unchanged at 67 cents per $100 valuation. We are requesting a 1% COLA for all town employees. For the police department, patrol officers, we are asking a combination of the COLA and raises to equal $3,000 per officer. So for the individual patrol officer, it ranges from $2,649 to $2,685. For the admin side, for the town clerk finance officer, it's $631. For the tax collector, it is $528. Again, for the combination of the COLA and the raise equals to $1,000 for administrative staff. Again, this is just for town employees, does not include any supervisory roles, again, just for the patrol officers.
For those of you joining us tonight, this is a public hearing, and we're under public right now. So if you have questions to what the manager has explained, that we're going to be able to give the police officers a little bit of a raise. There'll be no tax increase for the next year of any sort, so it should be the same. We shouldn't have any heartache, no more than you had in the past year. So if the public has any questions, but we have to do this tonight. If you mean to say, we have to do this tonight. We won't be able to approve the budget till later in the month because there are information coming in from the county. So at the end of this, we will recess till later in the month and then do it. But we will be happy to take your questions tonight. Yes, sir.
When you said a budget to pay the police officers?
For an increase.
Increase?
Yes.
Well, one of my concerns would be, I was born and raised here in Spring Hope, and my concern is with African-American police officers and how many, I can name a couple that have been, on the staff here in Spring Hope. So that's my only concern tonight is, African-American police officers representing the Spring Hope area.
And if the chief would like to chime in.
I'll be glad to. African Americans are really hard to hire, especially when you only pay $31,500 a year, because they're getting sought out just as hard as they can. And when you got agencies that are paying $40,000 to $50,000, then I can't offer it. I did just hire a black male from 2 academies back, and he's a part-time officer. Because I don't have a full-time spot.
Right. I was just concerned because, Spring Hope is not that big of an area, but it need to be proportionally.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
That's my only concern.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. It's just that I teach at the academy. I teach firearms to all the new cadets. So every year I teach 4 classes. So I see firsthand on who's in there. And I mean, just the facts are, out of 20 cadets that join that class, 3 or 4 of those will be African American, and 9 times out of 10, they're already hired before they even graduate. And they're normally hired by Wake County Sheriff's Office, Raleigh PD, Zebulon PD, your departments that are paying more money. And it's hard to compete with those bigger agencies because the demand is just, it's there because everybody needs a minority. I mean, who's better to deal with minority than minority? They know the life, they know how to do it just the same way as a female can relate with a female. I mean, it's just, those are the facts. But it's the only reason why I was able to be lucky enough to hire Mr. Lucas, who we just did part-time, was because me and him bonded in the academy when I taught him. And not to get into his personal stuff, but he had some things and the agencies wouldn't touch him. And I know the quality of the man he is. So I, even though did not need any part-time officers, I went out and I hired him on my own because I know the quality and the caliber of him. And just like last night with all the stuff going on with the rioting and all that good stuff. I made one phone call, and he just said, absolutely, I'll be there, and you don't have to pay me a dime to be there. I'm coming, I'm on the way. He's just a great, great guy. I would love to have him full-time. And I've got agencies calling me, wanting him to come work there, and I hate to even send him because I don't want him to leave here.
So
But
what time frame are you talking about before he could become full-time?
well, I mean, there is no spot.
Was 2 officers just hired or 1?
One was full-time, one was part-time.
Why the black one was full-time and the white one was part-time?
I can't really discuss that in an open meeting.
Because we already had a lot of white
I'd
officers.
be glad to
in
talk
the-
to you about it.
I understand what you're saying, but we already had a bunch of white officers. So it would be common sense to put a black officer in there, so we have a black officer that's full-time in Spring Hope.
Okay, well, one, he had not applied with me because he was getting strung around at other sheriff's offices and other departments. And he kept calling me, wanting to know, you know, where he could go, where he could go. Nobody would hire him because of his history. I told him, once he called me and said, I can't find anywhere, I said, you know what, I'm going to get you back. Come to me. But just be prepared, you're going to be here for 2 days. We're going to go nonstop through this. We're going to start from beginning to end with your background, everything that you have on your background, we're going to give an explanation for, and we're going to send it in. If nobody else has got your back, I'm going to get you back. I was like, but I can't hire you full-time because I don't have a spot. I just hired a guy full-time a month prior to that. He came in, we went through it, I sent his stuff to training and standards with all the explanations that me and him did. I faxed him 33 pages, normally it's 5. And within 4 days, I got the approval to hire him. That's the reason why he's not full-time, is because he didn't come to me when I had a full-time opening. And if he were standing right here right now, he would tell you the exact same story. And I would love to have him full-time, but I can't, I don't have a spot.
So at this time, if we, the only way we would have a position open is if someone retired, or if we had someone who left for another position in another agency.
So you're the chief of police, right?
Yes, sir.
So when is the chief of police job? So whenever you would find something else, or
When is what now, I'm sorry?
You're the chief of police, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've never, in Springwood, have a black chief of police. No one has never applied for it or anything?
I know there was not any minorities that applied in my process, no. But, I mean, it's just like I said a minute ago. I'm very fortunate because my wife is the breadwinner in my family, 100%. I love Spring Hope. I love small towns. I started here. I went to a bigger town and I came back here. I love this area. This is for me. A African-American man with my qualifications would not come to Spring Hope.
So
If you understand what I'm saying. Huh?
He gets better offers.
He gets better offers. He's not going to come to Spring Hope for $50,000 a year when he can go to Durham and make $110,000. It's just not going to happen. So, I mean, it's only a race issue if you make it a race issue. I'm telling you 100% that I love LaShawn Lucas like he's my brother. He wouldn't be here if it weren't for me. He would have lost his certification if it weren't for me. And I didn't do that to hire a black guy. You know, that's not me. I just didn't have a full-time spot when he came. But I can tell you right now, if somebody left, he would get hired within 20 minutes of them walking out the door.
I got a question, Will. Not specifically in regards to the police officer, but back to the parks. I know you already made a motion to close it, but with the parks, as far as, I want to get clarification on that. So are the baseball fields open,
Baseball fields are open, yes, sir.
but the basketball courts are not?
The concern from the county is baseball, the guys are standing 6 to 8 feet, 40, 60, 80, 100 feet apart in the outfield.
But
And in basketball,
But
everybody is.
contact is not just touching the body as well on the the baseball field, if I throw a baseball to you, you got to touch it to throw it back to me. So what's the difference in two kids throwing a baseball at each other and two kids guarding each other on the basketball court? And the reason I bring that up is because when you put yourself in the community shoes, what it's gonna look like is you're gonna have a group of kids walking by the park, and they're gonna see another group of kids on that baseball field, and they're gonna wanna know why they can't play basketball. So those questions come up, you gotta be able to answer those questions well. And then it's all about perception. So the community are gonna perceive what they perceive. Now, that may be different from what's really going on, but do we care? Do we care about how the community feels in regards to that?
We actually really care more about COVID-19.
I understand that, but
And this is on the county's recommendation, I believe that here, June the 6th is the next, July 6th, that's another month. I mean, I live near the park, I know how many kids are out there, I know the basketball court is it draws the kids. And I've talked with the police chief, and I think he is more of the time frame, he would love to open up the basketball court if we could keep the limit to under 25 kids out there, or at least on each court. I mean, everybody seems to want to play on the street side of the court. I grew up in the neighborhood, I've lived a block from that basketball court.
Well, I think
since the 70s. I mean,
I think the kids are smart enough to where if you put a sign up that says, okay, you can play basketball, but X amount of kids on one side, X amount, I think our kids in the neighborhood are smart enough to be able to adhere to whatever standards are set.
And like I said, I 100% don't mind enforcing that.
I'm not trying to cut you off, and we can come back to this, and we will. But kind of my job up here is kind of keep the meeting following in a direction, and right now we're in a public hearing for the budget. And I think everybody is fine, you know, we don't do, tax increases or anything, everybody's gonna be pretty much okay with that. And at the end, we will have, before we adjourn, before we recess tonight, I will open up so the commissioners can bring items back up. So please stick around. I mean, you made your point, and Chief, and let's discuss it at the right time in this meeting. Let's get us out of this public hearing. So I know there's at least two. I thought there were three of you that came in together. Is it just the two of you from EnviroLink? I know they've been waiting. I would have moved them up on the agenda. I'm sure they've got other places they want to go, and they're not here for the town. They're here for one little section of this meeting. So I'm going to pull us back into the budget presentation. And if the public has no more questions about the budget for the upcoming year, I'm going to ask for a motion to go back into open session and get us moving back down our agenda.
Make a motion to go back to open session.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to come out of public hearing for the purpose of discussing the 2021 budget. If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. That motion passes. We are now back in open session. I know the next item on my agenda says consider action on the budget ordinance for 2021. Is there another budget ordinance in here?
No, so you should have been given a copy of this annual budget ordinance. Before we consider that, again, the town will be receiving additional information about revenues from the state the middle of this month. So I know that it's proposed to recess this meeting at the end to a later date. Consider action on the annual budget ordinance on that future date.
I'm going to give the date Jay seems to leave out. I know that we talked about it today. The paperwork we have due with the county clears us for a possible recessing to June the 24th. To come back and have the last couple of budget items cleared up and cleaned up so we can approve the budget that starts July 1st. Is June the 24th a good looking date for everyone? It's a Wednesday.
Looks like to me that would be good for me.
Sir,
What time are we looking at?
you're good?
What time on June 24th?
It would be, standard time, 7 o'clock. I'm hoping by the 24th, we're back working full-time. That makes 6:30 a little odd for me. If it's like this in 3.5 more weeks, we can meet at 9 o'clock in the morning if you want. I'm here every day, all day. Mr. Kane?
I'm good with it.
Brenda?
I'm good.
All right, so at the end of the evening, we're gonna plan on recessing to June the 24th at 7 p.m., Joe?
Yes.
That takes care of that item right there. The next item I have on my agenda is the Chamber of Commerce updates.
Not really much to update. We are moving ahead with trying to backfill the position at the LPA. We've received several applications. We're going through them right now. We'll do interviews hopefully within the next week or so. Also, we are meeting with the Nash County Tourism tomorrow to put in our bid for funds to help us with the Pumpkin Festival. We hope to get some funds because we think we'll be a little shy on sponsorship this year. And then we'll make a decision by July as to whether we're going to proceed with the Pumpkin Festival or not. So, and that's about it right now.
That's gonna be my question. That was gonna be the mayor's question. Pumpkin Festival.
Do what?
Pumpkin Festival.
We'll have a decision in July. The board will meet again after tomorrow's meeting and make a decision as to whether we're going to proceed or not.
So you're not sure whether you have it, right, is what you're saying?
They're not sure
You're
yet.
gonna have the pumpkin festival, right?
Do what now?
You're not sure?
We're not sure. We're not sure.
Pumpkin Festival is
We're gonna wait and see what's happening with the COVID-19, obviously. Even if everything's lifted, you know, we've got to take into consideration probably a lot of people might still not come out. We've not had an influx of craft vendors or food vendors contact us wanting to be a part of it. We'll have to go out and solicit, which we have. So we just need to play it by ear and kind of see what's going on with the COVID-19 and we're going to make a final decision in July. Right now, we're assuming we are moving forward. We're going to proceed as we are going to have it unless something horrible changes.
Are you planning on any workshops for those of us that are active in the other groups other than funding?
Not right at the moment, no. Any workshops?
Well, if I'm still in charge of the food vendors, and, I mean, all I need is approval to call them and check on them. I don't know what you're doing, or you're just gonna surprise me with a list.
No, Sheila's been out, and Sheila was taking all of that information. I need to contact her, find out which vendors have contacted us already, and get that list. And then I need to solicit, because I'm the craft vendor person, so I need to solicit and put out to the craft vendors too, and find out who is still thinking about coming. So we're still hoping to get a number of food and craft vendors. So, okay, and that's really about it right now.
I think you would probably be more than welcome by the town if you wanted to use this for a meeting place where you could spread out.
Maybe, yeah, we probably would.
Just for your key members, just so.
Yeah, you mean for meeting with the
For
Pumpkin Festival?
yes.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll let you know a date. Like I said, the board is meeting tomorrow night after we meet with Nash County, and we'll talk there and get initial feed with the board on how they feel and what direction we want to head. Okay.
We're about 3 months behind in planning.
No, we're not, because we've already got the entertainment locked in. We've already made contact with the stage. We've already done a lot. We haven't committed a lot of funds yet until we're sure. But we've already made contacts and made reservations with a lot of things. So we're not really behind the power curve. We're not ahead of the game either, but we're not behind the power curve. Okay.
Anybody have any questions for the chamber?
Yes, sir.
In the past, I know that I remember having a lot of bands bands in the parade,
Mhm.
but over the years, that seems to have faded away. So what is the process in getting bands?
The process is we invite every year. We can't control whether the school's bands do come or not. We pay them to come and be in the parade if they want to. Same with the floats. We have sent the letters out. Our parade person has already sent the letters out to the school systems. School systems are in flux right now too, so there's no telling whether they're even going to be able to get the band up and running for the October parade. But those letters do go out. They already have gone out requesting the bands participate, requesting floats, 5 floats.
So that in the past, the interest was just down? Is that-
I can't give you a reason why some of the schools don't participate, huh?
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure Winfield has Hartsdale the same day.
Yeah,
The high schools are in competition for bands that day.
yeah. So, but entertainment-wise, we've already locked in the entertainment for this year. That's already been locked in for both Friday night and entertainment all day Saturday. So that's already been confirmed, and the contracts are in place for that. Okay.
Anybody else have questions for the
Anything
chair?
else?
Thank you, Ms. Wall.
Yeah, thanks, y'all.
Next item on my agenda is the report from the attorney.
No new matters to bring before the board, but on behalf of the firm, we do appreciate you renewing the contract. You've been working for the town for a long time, and look forward to doing it for another year. Appreciate it.
Next item on my agenda is EnviroLink.
Good evening. I have a monthly activity report for May 2020. I have no activities to report at this time. I have a total of 41 work orders were completed in May 2020 with the following summary below. Water sold upon meter readings for the current month was 2.80 million gallons with a well production of 2.91 million gallons. Wastewater effluent of 5.39 million gallons, and there was 4.19 inches of rain this past month. And that is all I have to report.
All right, I'm going to ask the commissioners if they have any questions for EnviroLink. I guess I will
We're debating on who
start.
wants to jump first.
I will start on my
Y'all shouldn't have put us together.
far left with Commissioner Wilkins. Do you have anything for EnviroLink this evening?
My concern was the condition of the MIGs and the grave that was out there. I did have the town send me the mow schedule. So I guess my question would actually be if someone from EnviroLink had been out there and mowed the grass out there, why wasn't that actually noticed, that the condition of that grave? Because someone set some cedar blocks on it to keep the, I guess whatever was put on it, to keep that down. So I guess I'm wondering why wasn't the town kind of notified of that? And if you guys did happen to see that, or did someone, when they were out there mowing, happen to see it?
Yes, ma'am. I can actually answer on that one because
Awesome.
I was actually asked by Miss Michelle and the lady of the town to go around and put boards over each of those open graves so they would be eventually filled in. And I know there was multiple graves, I think over 5 of them. They were actually filled in with the dirt to the top of the brim and flushed with the grass. And I never got notification that it was completed, but that spot where I put that board, I was the one that placed that board over that grave months prior, because I was asked to cover them up and at least have them closed off until we had a proper contractor to come in and fill them up. And I think that was just one that was either missed or it was not noticed, because that was out there the entire time when I went out and put the other boards over those graves.
So are we saying, because you said you put that on there some months back, are we saying no one has been out there since then to see that it had caved in and it was exposed, the actual inside of it was exposed to
It was exposed the first time, that's why we actually put the cover over there. But no, there is people out there mowing continuously, you know, keeping the grave sites. And I never had any update from anybody else, you know, telling me that it was caved in or filled in or nothing was done about it. Because I brought it up to town before and I was asked to go out there and cover those graves up.
I'm guessing, I don't want to step on your toes. The question is, we would assume the guys and girls, or girls, that cut the grass would have been the first ones to notice. And why, or do they tell you as soon as they notice it, or is it just, they're like, it was there when we got there?
I think it was kind of just a miscommunication. Nobody really relayed it on afterwards.
I mean, I would hope that, you know, I know you've got a lot of stuff going on in town and everywhere, that your people that are cutting grass would feel free to come by if you're busy, or even after they tell you to come by and let us know there's a problem like that, especially an open grave. Just out of respect for the families, not just that family, but the families surrounding anybody going into the graveyard. I mean, it's a sacred place and everybody.
Hey, buddy, in regards to that, my crew was the crew that went out and fixed the graves. I didn't realize you guys didn't mark those graves, but I knew someone had marked a lot of different graves. I sent a crew of 2 guys over there, and we filled in the ones that we found. Apparently, they got overlooked on our behalf. I mean, I guess I'll have to take the heat for that, because I sent my guys over there, and we just didn't see it. I didn't know it was left there. Because if you're saying you actually put the bricks on it, you did all of them like that, right?
Yes, sir.
We were the ones that cleaned them off, my guys.
With the plow, whatever.
Yeah, we moved the plywood off, backfilled them, busted them up with the cement and filled them in with dirt. But apparently it just got overlooked. I don't know how we did it, but it did. And somebody at some point found it and reported it. I didn't know about it, it would have already been fixed, because Shell and she actually sent me over there to fix them, and we did it. And we reported back to her that we had taken care of it, so we thought it was done until we saw that scene that came up on Facebook, and we came back and immediately fixed it. And that's what brought the question, how long was this out here? You know, we didn't realize it was left there until you was clear about the fact that you guys actually was the ones that put it on there. Because you all found the other ones as well, like 5 or 6 of them, correct?
I guess my question will go back to you, Mr. Essett, the part. I know that Oakdale has signs up, row A, row B, row C, row D, or 1, 2, 3, 4. However, is Meeks marked the same way?
It is not, but I actually submitted some information to her tonight or earlier today in regards to marking the individual rows on the cemetery. It would actually help her too if someone from the town was to come in and ask in particular where is my particular loved one. She can send them out and say it's on row A, and that covers a certain area, like 60 foot by the distance of the cemetery, every 60 foot.
I would think that would help environment too, if they could tell you we found one broken on row 1 or A or whatever, and that way maybe you don't go out and fix the ones you see that were covered in.
Right.
And there's some simple, low-cost way to help y'all identify them faster and
Certainly.
communicate better.
And that was the only reason why I wanted to come too, because I want to definitely set my level of responsibility as a contractor for taking care of those things. And like I said, we were very vigilant with keeping up with the cemetery. I got my father's buried there, a lot of families, so I take a special interest in the cemetery. But like I said, some things can be overlooked, and I feel like that was an issue that apparently was just plain overlooked and didn't get reported. It seemed like it was a big communication gap on behalf of the situation with them marking it and us actually fixing it. Nobody actually cleared everything. It should have been, like I said, 6 fix total or something. You know, my guys just said they fixed all of them, and we didn't know exactly how many it was. We just drove over there and kind of did a drive around and found them, fixed them, but that one slid through the cracks on us. And in all honesty, the only place that those markers you pertaining to referencing will only be in the new section of the cemetery, because that's the only part of the cemetery using. Where these at is in the old original section of the cemetery, pretty much up front. When you first come in, that's actually the old section of the cemetery. Those graves are starting to get dilapidated for those surface burials that we mentioned earlier. We don't even have a map of that section of the cemetery at all. It got lost in the shuffle years before I ever came on board. I actually got a record of the burials, but we don't have a map to reference it. So it's no good at all, because it's not pinned off. They somebody actually pinned them off years ago when they actually did a map. So it was actual pinned off with driveways and walkways, but we don't actually have a map. And it's really, investment in that would be astronomical for what you would get for it, because you're not burying that section anymore. Everything we're doing now is in the back, and we actually have maps of the back, which I would say we rally the funds to the new section of the cemetery to make sure it's properly operated, so we don't run into these problems again. And like I said, those surface burials are outlawed now, so we don't have that problem anymore. You won't have that problem in the back section of the cemetery that you've got in the front now. So it kind of eliminates itself by closing off the cemetery, by them outlawing those types of burials, and by us actually operating in the new section of the cemetery. That's mainly why they got left long as it did, I feel like, because we don't really do burials up front. It would have definitely been noticed in the heavily traveled areas of the cemetery.
My suggestion is just mark all of the roads. You may not be burying people there, but if they find problems, it gives you a spot to look.
Certainly. And that's what we intend to do based on the maps that we got. We're going to mark everything row by row, A, B, C, right on through, to correspond with the maps that we have that I brought tonight.
So are we saying, just to make sure that I'm clear, are we saying you're gonna do the mapping and all of that kind of stuff for the cemetery, and then the only thing that EnviroLink will be doing is just mowing the grass, right?
Yeah. Whatever you all need me to do, whatever capacity I'm willing to do is what I'm saying. I don't know what you all decide to vote on, but I'm very capable of handling the mapping and finding the pins. We have metal detectors that we can very easily find the pins and flag them. We have to do that regardless to establish the driveways. It'd be pretty simple to do with following the maps that's already in there. The issue is the front part of that cemetery, the entire front. All that big area you see coming down, there's no map at all of none of that. It got lost in a flood or fire or something with the town years ago. So it's basically closed off. So what happens is if you have family members that come up and they can pinpoint where their space is, we use the space. Other than that, we push everybody to the new section of the cemetery where we do have maps and we don't have to run into those issues. That's why when it comes to see, we kind of clear up some of what's going on with that cemetery and why we have a lot of issues with the water and the rain and the driveways in the back, because that's where all the traffic is. The new section is actually the rear cemetery. The pre-existing part of the cemetery is in the front that you see passing on the highway. And it's very little traffic on the front of the cemetery at all. And I think that's how we overlooked that grave that was out there.
Anything else, Commissioner? Commissioner Kane?
Yes. My question is going to be for Meeks and for Oakville. I've actually spent more time in Meeks. I was there Tuesday, and then Wednesday I saw somebody out there with a weed eater. So my question is, have you finished cutting the cemeteries? Are they finished right now? They were cutting last week. Are they finished right now? Because I know what the proposed dates of when they would be finished were, and I'm wanting to know right now, are they finished?
Right, our crews, like I said, they were at work last week, mowing. I rely on them to complete and send me photos of the work they've done each day. If they are not finished, I will send them back out as needed. If it's related to me, either from Matthew, who spends a lot of time up here, or anybody else, who needs to alert me to its condition if it's not complete.
I'm alerting you.
Yeah.
It ain't complete.
Yeah.
It hasn't been complete, even for a moment. It's disgraceful. I mean, it was upsetting for me. I don't have any family members at Meeks. I don't have any family members at Oakdale. But as a representative of this town, and as a citizen of this town, it is disgraceful to come into this town and see it looking in that condition. And for you to sit there and tell me that you've mowed it, and that you weed eated it, and that you finished it, is, anyway, it's upsetting. To me, it is questioning my intelligence, because anybody can see it. And what I'm gonna ask is that you don't rely on your people to send pictures of the chosen spot that they cut that day. And that you actually spend the time to go out there, and to Mr. Hedgepeth's point, hold them accountable. Because I can tell you, it is not finished. When the cemetery people have to go in and dig a grave next to grass that's up to their waist, it's not been cut. I can go out there right now, we can leave this building right now and go to that cemetery to Meeks, and there are weeds beside the road. Beside the road. How do you come into town? When you came into town tonight, which direction did you come into town?
From the north.
From the north. Which direction did you come into town?
West Mill Road.
Okay, I suggest that you go the other way and take a look at your cemetery and see what work that your people are doing. Because it's getting to the level, and you can say I'm really upset about this right now. It's been brewing in me all night. I was real good listening to Clinton. But when I go out there and I see that, and I don't want to sound unreasonable, but I think we've been more than reasonable. And I've seen the emails, they're public record, but when you said you were cutting and when you said you would finish, you haven't done it. I'm telling you, it better get finished, and it better get finished right. And please let me know if that's how you would cut grass at your house, because I don't want to go to your house if that's the way it would be.
Commissioner, I want to add to that, being a contractor, cutting grass, being a contractor, marking the graves off in the cemetery, when I go over there with these families, it's not doing funeral time per se. Michelle will give me a call and say we've lost a member and she needs me to meet with them. I drive to the cemetery to meet with them in the cemetery. And 90% of the time, it's always, like he said, ankle high boot above grass in the cemetery. And I've spent my time explaining to the people that this is not going to look like this. Tomorrow we'll have the grass cut by so-and-so. So I say we as if it's me, because I'm representing the town and I'm there. So it doesn't give a good look to me to always have to basically defend the town on a situation that seems like it never gets a cure. And I've said to Michelle, and I don't know where she's converted to Jay as well, it needs to have some type of schedule done. Most municipalities and towns, when they cut grass, they know they dedicate a particular day every 2 weeks, every week, based on the growth and the rain and the growing pattern. Most people come in and cut the grass and they'll do the whole thing, complete that entire thing. And I can say this because I cut grass myself with cemeteries all down on the East Coast, major big cemeteries, and we allocate a drive and we allocate the men for a full cut. In 24-hour period, even great big cemeteries, 16-acre cemeteries are cut completely, and they want them cut every 10 days, which is 3 times a month. That keeps, and that's sometimes not good enough depending on the growing rate. But I was just suggesting the town needs to have a level of accountability on behalf of you guys based on what your schedule is and who you're dedicating to doing it, so it doesn't be in patches. Like, just cut this section, cut at the road. That's what I've noticed. I think that's what Brenda's conveying is it's never seemed to be a complete job done. It's kind of, the front is done, but the back isn't. Part of the back is cut, or you send somebody over at the last minute and they're trying to get it cut before funeral time. So then you got fresh shavings everywhere where they've actually cut it, but it's fresh shavings and they only cut a portion of the new section. That's the only place we can sell property is in the new section of the cemetery, so that definitely needs to have some level of eye appeal at all times, meaning the entire cemetery needs to be cut square and pretty so it looks appealing when the family comes out there to drive and you want to actually bury someone there and it not look kind of like a salvage area, and where it's just overgrown and doesn't look like people care. And most citizens don't realize it's subbed out. They just, they see me, they think I'm really the one that's doing all of this stuff. When they talk to me, they feel like it's me. And I always make the excuses up. We're gonna get the grass cut, we're gonna handle this and all. She can tell you, I call her and say, the grass is terrible, what's going on? Can we get it cut before the weekend? We got a funeral on this day. She gets something done, they usually get over there and get it cut in that particular area. But to me, it needs to be some type of schedule system in place where you're doing a complete cut every 10 days and or something at that level. That's about the minimum you can get away with really in perpetual care cemeteries in this southern environment. At the growing rate it is, about every 10 days is really pushing it for any perpetual care. And I realize they're not perpetual care, they're maintained by the city, but perpetual care, they have to have in their budget enough to cover at least a 10-day cut every 10 days. So that's what I was recommending you guys, to come up with some level of accountability on the number of cuts you do for the season and a complete cut.
Commissioner Ritter?
We've been over this a lot of times. Have any of y'all or Mike ever been over here during the summertime and driven out to either one of the cemeteries in Spring Hope and looked at the condition of it? And I've got pictures on my phone I was looking for going back 5 or 6 years. The only reason that Oakdale is in a little better shape than it used to be is because a group of citizens inside town and outside town were so appalled at the condition of the cemetery and the condition it was kept that they formed a group that meets once or twice a year and goes down there and works on that cemetery. And I can't tell you how many times I have talked to EnviroLink since before neither one of the commissioners on my left were on the board about improving the way y'all maintain the cemeteries and everything in this town. You're responsible for maintaining it. So I'm not going to keep talking to you about it like you've already heard enough in your life. I'm just telling you it's a problem, and maybe one of you all or the two of you and Mike need to come over here one day and get in the car with Jay or Michelle or Clint. Mr. Hedgepeth will probably be glad to meet you here and take you and let you see what your people are or are not doing. And some of the problems might be miscommunication on our part, but I think a big part of it is just not being taken care of like it should be.
Commissioner Lucas?
Nothing new, we go through this every year.
I think that's what upsets me the most.
And nothing has been changed. Not only the cemetery, streets right up Branch Street right now, got weeds that the town's supposed to be responsible for cutting for, and it's not cut. And I thought we had a discussion last year that we're not only supposed to keep this town in good shape, looking good at Pumpkin Festival time. I think Drew said that. But we're supposed to do it all year. And somebody's falling short. It's to the point, you either want to do the job or you don't. That's how I feel about it. If you don't want to do it, just let us know.
Gentlemen, I'll give you a chance to respond.
First of all, I do want to apologize to everyone, everyone here on the board and residents alike, for any shortcomings that we have had, recently or, longer. So, I've not been with EnviroLink as long as most, but I do want to make, you feel better about us. I understand it will take some doing to get that, faith in you a little bit, but I want to work harder for you, to show that I care about, doing a better job for you, from this day forward.
I mean, you can tell us you're sorry, and I know I can only speak for me. I will accept that, but you can't just say, It can't be just words. We have to see you guys actually doing it. My husband and I actually went out to Meeks because the majority of his family that's deceased is in that particular cemetery. The grave was, his grandfather's grave was covered up with grass. So we couldn't find it until we started moving grass. He had never been out there. So that was appalling for him to go out there and couldn't even see it because it was all covered up with grass. Even some of the streets that we ride down. If it's somebody we know, we have actually picked up some of the stuff and thrown it on the back of our truck and took it to the dumpster ourselves because EnviroLink didn't do it. That's not my job. That's not his job. We got other jobs we gotta do because you guys are not doing what you guys need to do with your people. That's not our job to manage your people either. So again, in order to earn my trust, I don't need to see this town full of trash. I don't need to see Meeks. I do come in that way, just so I can see what Meeks look like. I even ride through the other cemeteries so I can see what it look like. And the only thing it shows me is that EnviroLink, I don't know what you're doing. It just appears like it's put on their thumbs, but we just need action here.
Yeah, to Commissioner Lucas and Commissioner Griffin's point, you're the latest in a long line of apologies. I think they just keep hiring somebody to come and bring us a fresh apology. At some point, the apologies have to stop. That's what I was saying earlier. It's an insult to our intelligence that we have to go through this every year, and we have to beat you up. And yes, you guys are different than the last guys that got beat up, but we have to beat you up all the time. Mr. Griffin's been here a lot longer than me. Commissioner Lucas even longer, or probably not as long as Commissioner Griffin. You're old, man. You've been here a long time. Why don't you fix this, man?
I've been here a lot longer than me.
So, I agree with Commissioner Wilkins. You know, as Christians, we have to accept your apology, but I don't know we forget about it. So, you want our trust, earn our trust. Because if we got to come back again, I'm real upset because it's the second time I've had to get upset about it. You hear once again a year ago. If I don't want to get upset again.
Commissioners, can y'all request a cut schedule from them? I mean, in good faith?
I think, Clinton, I think they are preparing from what I'm being told, they're preparing a schedule for leaf and limb pickup and some type of zones or something, because we're not even touching leaf and limb tonight because we can beat you. We can take another round.
I look at the contract too, so I try to understand.
So do I. So do I. Hey, I'm saying that.
So I'm trying to understand if they are they required to present a cut pattern or a work schedule?
I think they're working on all that. I think another issue, I mean, we've been in these issues before, some personnel issues.
Sure.
You don't have enough people. On one day, you don't have enough people. When I see one lady that looks like she's pretty much worn down, getting dehydrated out there with Purslane the way it is, that's all I say for all that cemetery.
Right.
Come on, guys. That's common sense. Like I said, I wanted to let you know I'm upset. And I think I've made that very obvious. I apologize for making it that obvious, but I think we're going to stop beating this dead horse now and bring the horse back to life. Don't make it be dead again.
Gentlemen, I'll leave you with actions speak a lot better than words.
Amen. Yes, sir.
And we'd like to see it done a lot better. You don't have anything else? I'll move on to my next item on my agenda. Thank you. Next item on my agenda is the police chief's report.
Considering the month, we've had
Chief, if you would give me just 1 second. Gentlemen, if y'all would like to leave now, I'm not throwing you out of the building, but if you want a chance to ride through Meeks and see what they're talking about before the sun's completely down, it's gonna be a little hard, but you might have a chance.
Yeah, that would be prudent.
I'll give you a chance.
It doesn't matter if it's dark, you'll be able to see it.
To escape before the crowd follows you out.
You can see that.
Thank you.
The whole time.
It's lit. It's lit. It's some light out there. You can go ahead.
If there wasn't any light, you could still see it.
Yeah.
speak.
Thank you.
Chief, please proceed.
Starting on May 10th, 6 o'clock, Officer Barber was patrolling around the elementary school and noticed that the back door was slightly ajar. He got out of his vehicle, went in the store, and located 2 juvenile females hiding in a classroom. He contacted their parents and is seeking juvenile petitions on those for misdemeanor breaking and entering. Officer Linhart on May 7th encountered a vehicle on West Nash Street while conducting a license check. While he was off of that vehicle, the female provided a false name and false information. With the investigation, he did identify the correct person as Samantha Hartsfield, 25-year-old black female. Hartsfield was charged with the identity theft and driving on a suspended license. She was arrested and received a $7,500 secure bond. On May 20th, Officer Barber received a call to Auto Barn on South Pine Street. Once he arrived on scene, he was advised that a vehicle had been purchased with a fraudulent credit card. Through the investigation with Detective Ellen, Officer Barber, they realized that this was a little bit bigger than they thought. It ended up being a flim-flam ring that was headed through it was Africa, Nigeria, and people from other parts of New York that came down into Virginia. So we do have one person that we are probably within the next day or so going to extradite from Virginia back here for the charge for the Auto Barn. We're working with federal agents on that case as well. On May 22nd, Officer Radford responded to 900 block of East Nash Street in reference to a heroin overdose of a 35-year-old white male. Subject was given 2 doses of Narcan and was brought back from his state. There were heroin and drug paraphernalia were seized from the scene, and the subject refused treatment. May 26th, Officer Gwaltney responded to Denton's Automotive, referenced several vehicles that had been damaged overnight. It appeared that somebody had gone through the area with BB guns and shot a couple of the windows. We checked all the surveillance video from everywhere in the area and are unable to locate anything on it for vehicles going through there any time. So most likely it was someone on foot, probably juveniles. Total calls for service this month were 144, 72 vehicle stops, and 0 accidents with 2 checkpoints with 6 charges.
Anyone on the board have any questions for the police chief this evening?
I guess for me, because now it's getting to a point where I can't hardly go in stores now. It used to be where I had the younger African-American females and males. I would get a lot of complaints, but they were my younger group, and now I'm getting my older men, my really older men, who are actually complaining now as far as the actual stops. So I can say that the African-American community, and this is of course based on what they provide to me, they truly do not feel that they are being treated properly with the police officers that we have. I don't want to name the officers, you know, in an open forum that they consistently have issues with. I can meet with you and tell you that, but there's just a select amount of officers that, and this is like an everyday thing. If I go out for lunch and walk in Food Lion, or go in at one of the side stores or what have you to put some gas, this is just like an ongoing thing. Or either they'll find me on Messenger, or they tend to find me, or they stop by the house.
Are they giving you any examples of anything that's happening?
I can say one example from a recent example is one young lady who, she got me on Messenger for Facebook, but I guess she works with a handicapped guy, and prior to the park being closed, she used to take him over to the park and let him walk around, because he can't be around a lot of different people. But from my understanding, and she takes him to the library, but that's closed too. So what she has been doing lately is she takes him to Spalding, and she parks in the circle. And I know the last episode was last Friday, when she stated that, and that was the third time the officer had came up and asked her why was she there for the third time, and she's told them what she's doing there, but she's like, this is the third time that they're asking, and I think this last one kind of set her off, because he asked her for her phone number, and she asked him, why did you need my phone number? And again, I can't quote word for word verbatim, just what she's telling me, but he said just in case something happened. So that gave her the illusion that he was saying just in case she steals something, or that's how she took it, or something like that.
Okay.
That's the last one that.
What time was this?
I got. That Friday was 7-something in the morning, because I was surprised I didn't actually see it, because I live right across the street. And I do see her over there. I see the young man over there, because I'm working at that time. But that particular day, I guess I just didn't notice that particular day. But that's one instance. I can also say the instance where I had the realtor who came here, and matter of fact, I talked to you, remember that day I talked to you? And her concern with the encounter that she had with our officer was, this lady is a 50-something-year-old lady. She's a realtor. And she had her son with her, who does not pose a threat as well. The entire time, she called me because she got scared and had went into a panic attack. When she called me, when I pulled up, I even noticed that the officer had his hand on his gun. The entire time.
Well, I mean, mine's been on since.
Yeah, just like that.
Right.
He had his hand on his gun, which is what caused her to go into her panic attack, because she had not posed a threat to him in no way, shape, or form. Now, I can understand if she had posed a threat, then yes, you have to do what you have to do, but she had not posed a threat to him.
Right.
So with her being out of Clayton, she did tell me, no, I'm not coming back to Spring Hope, because he just held his hand on his gun the whole time, and it scared her. So it's just those things like that. A lot of these stops, I guess I'm sitting here trying to wonder, like, what's the determination on how the stops are being done, because it's giving the African-American community the illusion that they're being targeted. And that's basically what they're stating to me.
Well, I can tell you that I did view the entire tape for the traffic stop with the lady from Clayton. And I saw absolutely nothing wrong with anything the officer did in the entire stop. And he actually formed his opinion on that stop way further away before he had any idea who the race of this person was. And I give you any time that you would like to come do a ride along with any officer, feel free to come do it.
Thank you.
Feel free to come do it, because I think it would clear some things up for you. Because there is no way to tell someone's race coming into town when you're running radar. And I have every single traffic stop, every single encounter that has ever been done by every officer here since January 1st. So I have the stats broken down from every female, every male, every black, every white, every Asian, every Hispanic. So, and the majority of people that are being charged in Spring Hope, as you can see from every time I read these, is not from people from Spring Hope. Because unlike, we're a strange thing where we are, because unlike any of your other places around here, even the people who have criminal histories and are addicted to drugs have jobs. So the majority of them are working every day. So they're not out running the streets. 9 times out of 10, the people that we get coming through town aren't from town. But I will, anytime you would like to ride with any officer, feel free to come do it, because I think it would be an eye-opening experience for you, and I don't think we would be having this conversation right now.
I would like to, for the police department to at least try to build that, or close that relationship gap with the African-American community here, because those are the ones that I constantly hear from, and some of the Mexicans that we have here.
I think they should contact me instead of you.
They don't feel comfortable coming to you. If they feel
I've never given
comfortable,
anyone a reason not to feel comfortable coming to me. I
If
think
they-
anyone who knows me knows that I have zero racist bone in my body.
I don't think that's what they're saying. They don't feel comfortable coming to you, because you made the statement they should come to you, but they
Oh,
don't feel
absolutely. If they have a
comfortable
problem
coming to
with
you.
my guys, then they should come to me.
And if they felt comfortable.
Because coming from you is third-party information.
So are you saying that as a representative of this town, because the community did vote me, and I don't work for the town, I
Okay.
work for the community.
Okay.
So you're saying they shouldn't come to me if they don't trust you, because that's what they're saying. They
I've
have
never
an
given
issue with
anyone a
you.
reason not to trust me.
Well, they don't. And I'm telling you, they don't.
Okay, and I've never done anything to you to deserve the attitude that I'm getting right now.
Okay, we're gonna move to the next person, because I can see right now,
No,
this ain't gonna work.
Well, this is.
Let's move to, I'm
having a
cutting,
conversation.
let's move to the next person.
You're not
Go
giving me
ahead,
a
Brad.
chance to speak.
Not, gonna happen, not with me. At all.
The chief. I think that members of the community, regardless if they're black or white, have the right to come to any of us commissioners, because we are the
Sure,
representatives.
absolutely.
And there
But I
might be
can
a reason.
handle it a lot better if they were to come.
Not saying you can't.
Right.
Not saying you can't. But they know us. I've got people, I've lived here all my life as well as everybody else. They know us. They may be more comfortable to come and speak with us. Now, the flip side of that is I think that to eliminate the third party, I think it would be in the best interest for, if I had somebody come to me with a problem with you, I would bring that person to you.
Sure, absolutely.
And
I will.
to put them at ease, And if I needed to stay the whole time you guys talked, to mediate or whatever,
Sure.
that's kind of what.
Absolutely. And I'll be glad, and I've shown citizen video, body cam videos, anything that they want to see. It's transparent. It's open door. If anybody wants to come in and ever talk about anything, it's open door.
Yeah, but
That's why I've got so many nice body cameras for everyone to wear. The
But I
citizens
can
come in and
understand.
look at that immediately.
I got you. I can understand people, it's like I have employees, and they may feel like I've done something wrong to them. They have to have an advocate, or maybe they don't know me or don't trust me.
Sure.
Because I don't work hand in hand with everybody. I've got 130 people that work for me. I don't work with them hand in hand. They may feel more comfortable going to an HR person or going to somebody else, but that HR person or my boss or whoever they go to generally will bring them to me, and we'll have a
Sure.
deal. Now, if it's something unethical that they can say that you've done, then I can understand that, but that's the whole story. But I don't think we need to get upset with each other because somebody went
No,
to
I'm not
her,
upset at all.
but I think we need to understand.
I just can't handle a problem if there is a problem if I don't know about it.
Right.
I mean,
I think that's what
I will be
Commissioner
glad
Lewis-
to visit anything that anybody wants to bring to me, but I have to know about it to be able to do anything about it.
Whenever I get a complaint,
Ma'am?
whenever I get a complaint, you all always know about it.
Absolutely, you call me every time.
Exactly right.
And I can't, and I'll fix
I
the
address
problem.
it to you, that's right.
And I can't fix it if I don't know.
That's right. I always bring it to you.
Commissioner Griffin?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the manager's report.
No item this month.
Under other business, I'm going to go back through commissioners. I'll start on my right. Commissioner Lucas this time.
Yes. I got some things. When are they gonna pick up these commodes around town? A month?
Waste Industries no longer picks up them, they don't consider them as white goods. So we're gonna have to figure out a way to do that on our own, this time. And then, from here out, the resident and or owner of the home will have to dispose of them themselves. But whatever's out now, we're finding a way to get rid of them.
But then you're gonna try to make it like a policy that I have to give them my own commode.
Yes.
It's already in the annual
Is it really?
form
Yes.
that's on there that
Yes.
it would no longer be picked up.
Right.
Okay, that's good, that's good. What about that trash on Branch Street? Just right, but that trash has been out there for a while. She moved and she left trash,
Oh, really? What, do you
yeah,
know what
furniture,
address?
trash, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I don't know, the last house on the left, Center Block House on the left,
Okay.
going toward, I guess that's East Main Street.
All right.
So who is responsible for picking up like refrigerators and things of that nature?
Waste Industries.
Waste Industries?
But we have to make a special appointment.
You
We
do?
need to know when there's white goods, otherwise, because they have to send a special truck. They don't put it on the regular truck, so we have to at least give them like maybe 48 hours.
But commodes are gonna be exempt.
Yeah, well, yeah, not doing commodes anymore.
Okay, good, okay.
I know with the refrigerators, typically, you have to take the doors off and take the compressor out of it, that's what they do with
Free on
mine.
out of there.
Anything else, Commissioner Lewis?
Oh, no, that's all.
Commissioner Griffin?
No, sir.
Commissioner Combs?
Only thing I have is, next board meeting, I'd like an update on where we stand as far as the ordinances that we passed earlier this year with blighted properties and nuisance. What has been done? I'd just like, up to the next meeting, I'd like to have something in the meeting with an update on maybe some accomplishments.
Commissioner Wilkins?
I'm good.
Jay?
Yes.
I'm gonna turn it back over to you. This is new.
Okay.
You ever respond to this? You started it, don't look at me, but I
Oh,
think you.
so I guess the question that we talked about earlier tonight, which the board had made the decision about the park, and that is still kind of up in the air, is which parts or components we would like to.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
And we'll talk about the park. I know you asked this question earlier.
So I know that this had come up earlier in the evening, and I guess parts of it of whether we're gonna follow by the county's recommendations. There are still lots of concerns and desires by the residents and citizens in town would like to see more parts of the park open. I guess one of the questions that still comes about is, again, should the basketball courts be open? Again, this is something that the town board can amend. It can be different from what the county would like or their recommendation. So again, I don't know if this is something that we want to discuss further possibly with some folks wanting to see more of the park opened.
I'm actually gonna take a little bit of a lead here, if you don't mind. The chief and I were talking last week. I guess since today's Monday, it was definitely last week. And his suggestion was reopening the basketball court. And to do it, put signs up, put a 25-person limit on the basketball court, which we all know the majority of the time it's typically less than 25 people out there. It just looks like a crowd because everybody's together. He says his officers can help patrol because it's a small town. They can run routes enough and include that circle on their usual route and kind of let the guys and girls playing basketball, hey, look, you got a little too big a crowd here. Can you play like half court and run two groups, or play 3-on-3 or some 2-on-2 or something like that to give y'all some distance, help with the COVID-19. I mean, we're missing in the chief's words, these kids have, been out of school, they got nothing to do, we've taken their parks away from them. Those of us that are parents, are probably have enjoyed the first week or two where we got to spend all day with our kids every day. We'd probably like to see them get outside, get some fresh air, some exercise. And it's actually the chief of the police department have voluntarily, or the chief has volunteered his guys to help try and keep the count down. I know there was some difference on what part of the park we wanted to open. I think we're keeping the playground closed, which keeps the small kids out. Tennis court, at best, is 4 people on a court at a time. We don't have a lot of tennis players here in town anymore. Baseball, you know, unless you get enough friends together to hang out and play ball. Basketball is the big driving force of the park. And it's your decision. I necessarily didn't agree with the chief when he started the conversation, but I think if he can help keep the crowd down to a reasonable amount, it would be parents' choices, whether or not you let your kids go and play basketball and are within the 6 feet boundaries. The governor said we're not supposed to be closing yet. But we were all young once. I know they need to burn some energy. So I'm going to turn this back over to the commissioners. I'd like y'all to open discussion, at least talk about it, think about it. If we're waiting until July the 6th, that's another 5 weeks of the summer gone. I mean, these kids are about ready to have gotten out of school now. They've been locked up, held up at home for almost 3 months. I pretty much have seen enough of my family every week. I love them to death, but you know, I think a little separation makes the heart grow fonder. And it's your choice. I mean, we have done very well with COVID-19 in Nash County, especially in Spring Hope. I don't know where all the kids are at now. You know, I assume they're all hanging out together at somebody's house, playing games, watching TV, playing video games, and doing whatever. They're already together. Do y'all want to give them a chance to get outside and open the entire park? Don't open the playground equipment, obviously. Little kids are blowing their nose in their hand, wiping the snot off their lip, rubbing it on everything. Everybody's kids does it. They all share it when they're at school. Right now, we're not pushing that. But I really kind of, after I've had time to think about it, I agree with the chief. I think the basketball court should probably be open. I see the county's reasoning. It's crazy. We don't have the crowds that Nashville, Rocky Mount, Wilson has, where there's 40 guys down there waiting for a court. They're all hanging out. I've lived there since '74. When I started on this board 18, 19 years ago, my biggest complaint about the basketball court were the beer cans and the beer bottles that were left every day. Broken in the street, dropped in our yards. This doesn't happen anymore. The kids keep it relatively clean. They're not perfect, they're kids. I don't think we have fights down there. We don't have arguments. Everything is settled very reasonably. And these kids need some fresh air and exercise. So I'm going to open up to the board. And if y'all would like to see if they'll take your suggestions, it's their call. But the police chief says he feels like he can back it up, and if we have a problem, we'll shut the basketball court down. I think we're about the only basketball courts in the entire county. The rims weren't taken down. Our kids, your kids, have been great. They haven't caused problems. They aren't down there. Every other city had problems with the kids refusing the orders and continuing to play basketball. Our kids have, we have good kids. Yes, sir.
I just want to add, I think like, if you put signs up, and I think our kids are bright enough to adhere to whatever stipulations you got to put on, as far as how many can be on the court at one time, and split them up, or, you know, due to COVID-19, blah, 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 you put signs up, I think our kids are smart enough to be able to adhere to it.
I mean, I know basketball is a close contact game. It always has been, always will be. There's no way we can ask them to play horse, but being out in the sun, getting some exercise.
I would definitely, jump on social media with, help get information out there as to what you got, what the kids need to be doing, and the mindset they need to have, if they do take advantage of it.
And whatever decision is made by the board, the town will be the first to I guess, write what those guidelines or stipulations are. If you can share from the town's social media account and reiterate that, then that'd be great.
Well, I told you my personal.
We just have
Facebook.
I told you my opinion earlier. My personal opinion is that, there's not a lot of touch points. Anybody who wants to go play basketball, that's their freedom of choice. I thought it would be simpler to stay in compliance with whatever the county did, make it a county-wide thing. But obviously, if we wanted to decide as a board to open the basketball board, I personally don't have a problem with it.
I'm okay with it too. I think if the baseball field is going to be open, we should open the basketball court just to cut off the people coming and ask questions, why is one open and the other one is not open?
I mean, I think we can answer the question, why. I mean, we've turned over all the sporting programs to the county. They're running it, they're cutting the grass for us now, they're maintaining it, they're picking up the trash. We kind of have let them take the lead on everything down there. I don't see the kids coming through. I kind of get used to it. Guys coming bouncing the basketball down my street, it's part of everyday life.
Careful about social media. I don't want the word to get out and have people from all over the county figuring out we're the only ones with rings. And now we got 100 people trying to play basketball.
I mean, do you have a limit you would suggest? If you're gonna patrol it, how many people you have out there?
Well, it's the only park in town, and we're like 1 square mile. I mean, I can roll it as much as we need. I mean, I've always got 2 officers working during the day. Me as well. If it becomes a problem to where I have to split the cord, because some orange plastic and right across the middle, be 25 and a half cord. Do 50 total on the cord, if it's separated where 25 and 25 would be kind of packed. I don't think it's going to be an issue.
So I made the motion, just thinking to follow along the county's lead, because they do look after the parks. But if our chief doesn't think it's gonna be a problem, and it's his recommendation that we keep the ball courts open so that our young people can have somewhere to play ball and get outside, then I'm fine with that, certainly fine with that myself. I think that they will have to understand, and everybody in town will have to understand, that there will have to be signs and there will have to be rules that the chief and his officers will be responsible for enforcing. And so in so doing that, you're not singling that sport out, you're just trying to do what's been asked of you to do. And I think that I would
also get involved in the community.
Well, I think that's a real good opportunity for all the officers to get involved with their community. So I would amend my motion to say that upon our chief's recommendation, we would leave the basketball courts open at the park along with the ball fields, but keep the playground equipment and the bathrooms closed.
Second.
And every commissioner's got my direct personal work and personal cell. If something they see, call me. If you're in my mom, I can send you that.
Now, since we have a little bit of further discussion, because I'm going to take a beating when I get home for this. I understand Commissioner Lucas's feeling about closing the park. I have an elderly person that we moved in with. My family is strictly abiding by COVID-19. I mean, I wasn't allowed to leave the house without a mask. I try to maintain my distance. I try not to let somebody too close too late now. Trust me. This is a serious condition, you know, we've avoided it greatly now, and this is a risk by doing this. But I want to say, I have a feeling if this is a step towards maybe bringing some people back together, some of the problems that are starting to rear their heads there in this town. Now, I will tell you, I back you 100%, and we talked, and I was really surprised you didn't bring it up tonight, that we went over the amount of stops for Spring Hope for the first 3 months of the year. And if the officers are keeping their records and they have body cameras on, you can give the exact numbers, but I want to say stops between whites and African American, there was less than 2 or 3 different. And black male, black female, white female, there was only like 1 more. And I want to say it switched on one or the other. One that was more stops on whites, and one that was 1 more stopping questions on African Americans. And the only other thing I take from this, and this is all just observations, I mean nothing by a construct, no. If I think your officer saw somebody at Spalding, which is now private property, he probably had an obligation to check. I don't know that he had an obligation to check 3 times. I've done ride-alongs with police multiple nights, and honestly, they stop more white people on the nights that I've ridden, and that might just be haphazard, and this fear that's going across the state and country pisses me off. And I don't believe it happens here. Dexter and I have been friends for 40 years. Clint and I for 30. I hope people don't feel that way. I hope you feel that you can talk to this man. You can talk to any of our officers. Because if I thought any of them were doing wrong by anybody, I'd be all over him to chew him and get rid of the man on the spot. So you have a motion and a second about asking open the basketball court back up. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes. The last item we have on our agenda is to recess till June 24th at 7 p.m. Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. We are recessed till June 24th.